Now, reports from Algeria say that security forces have opened fire on protesters during another day of rioting. Local media says that one demonstrator has been killed. The unrest has been triggered by a sharp rise in the price of food and also of unemployment. Hashim Al-Hubara reports.
Algeria mired in violence. Reassurances by the authorities to stem the spike of food prices have failed to appease the protesters, who are still out in the streets of many cities, venting their anger at a government they accuse of failing to address the country's economic and social problems. A deep-seated frustration over bad governance in one of the richest nations in the African continent.
There is a deficit in accountable government, in other words, no democracy, no popular accountability of any form. You have really big and now deeply rooted corruption of the officials and of the whole regime. People could see it.
The government has promised to build more houses, control food and fuel prices, and reduce unemployment, steps described by these young protesters as quick fixes. Stores and government offices ransacked. The anger is spreading. Security has been beefed up in flashpoint districts in the capital, and weekend football matches called off across the country.
The genie is out of the bottle. We saw that in Tunisia. We saw it now. We see it now in Algeria, and I'm sure we see it in Egypt. North African countries are really fed up with these tyrannical regimes which think that people walk on their stomachs. People want a dignity, and they want to be represented and well represented.
This is the worst riots in the Algeria since late 80s, when similar grievances led to widespread violence, the rise of the Islamists, and a civil war that claimed the lives of thousands of people. Memories many here fear could be awakened if tension persists. But Algeria isn't the only country beset by unrest. Neighboring Tunisia has seen similar protests over the last few weeks. Despite the best efforts of the Tunisian government to clamp down, these videos have appeared on the internet showing demonstrators staging sit-ins and rallies. They appear to be part of a growing chorus of people in North Africa calling for change. Hashim Al-Barra, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's discuss this further with Mohamed Zitout, who's a former Algerian diplomat, the deputy ambassador to Libya. He joins us now live from our London studio. Thanks for being with us. What, in your opinion, is really going on at the moment in Algeria? We spoke to a member of the ruling party an hour ago who said that this unrest was due to an unruly minority.
Hi there. Unfortunately, they are continuing to give very distorted version of what's going there, because simply they have got their upper hand on the media, international media, and also local media, and that's why they think that they can continue to say lies about what's going on. What's going on, to make it very simple to your viewers, it's a revolt and probably a revolution of an oppressed people who have been for 50 years waiting for housing, employment, a proper and decent life in a very rich country, but unfortunately which turned to be ruled by an extremely rude elite, and which doesn't care about what's going in the country. And because they didn't allow that, and because they didn't give the people what they want, and where they have got absolutely the means to do that, people are just revolting, and not only revolting in fact, yeah, because of food, but also for other things, and mainly for freedom.
All right, so where will this revolt, as you describe it, end? Is this the beginning of a nationwide campaign of civil disobedience, or do you think the government is going to crack down on this and nip it in the bud?
it will be very difficult for them to crack down. Till now, they are trying not to use extreme violence as they used to be. Let's not forget that since 11th of January 1992, they have been the regime, which is controlled by a handful of generals, mainly from the secret services, have been directly or indirectly responsible for the killing of 200,000 persons. We are talking about 200,000 persons in the last 19 years, particularly on the 90s. For this time, they can't just use the word of fighting terrorism. They can't just use the word, and because this is a magic word which has worked well with the West, and this regime is very, very hugely backed by the West, because the West think that instead of this military regime, they will get the Islamists. Therefore, let's back this military regime. Now, I think it will be very difficult for them to crack down, very difficult to use violence, although I just heard before entering your studio that there is a second death in Algiers, if it's confirmed by this morning.
And where do the sympathies of the army and the law enforcement authorities in Algeria lie? I mean, if the government wanted them to crack down hard on the people of Algeria, would there be much of an appetite for it, do you think?
They have got the only backing they have got is from the West, unfortunately. Inside Algeria, this elite which are running the country has absolutely no sympathy within the people. Even within the extreme eradicators, they have lost the faith on the military regime. Because the problem that people think that we have got a president, ministers, prime minister. In fact, this is the facade, this is the decor, if you want. This is the cosmetic which is needed for particularly for broad. But behind the scene, behind that, there is a government of ruthless generals who doesn't know how to run a country, who run it extremely badly, and who run it in like a caserne, like a barrack, like military barracks. Now, Algerian, with the internet, with the TV satellites, with all this, they know that this can't be maintained. They can't bear this regime, and they are revolting. And I think Algeria will never be again as it used to be before the 5th of January.
All right, Mr. Zitout, thanks for your view. That's Mohamed Zitout, former Algerian.